All right. So you're like a child that's wandered the movie theater halfway through and you're wondering what's going on. This is Donny cast on the 12th of July, 2022. I am your host, Walter, on the good lie and the greater good. And let's get depressed together. So the big story of today was some nonsense that was going on in Congress between Josh Hawley of Missouri and some ridiculously ideologically broke law professor by the name of, and I'm probably going to butcher this, Khiara Bridges, I believe was her name. Now, first off, uh, I have to point out that what the fuck is this article doing on Yahoo Sports? Um, I I guess we could say that this ridiculous culture war that we have going on is some form of you know contest between two opposing sides, but I wouldn't go as far as to say it should be in the sporting section. So anyway, here's your story. San Francisco Chronicle, as you can imagine, is probably a little left leaning. Berkeley law professor Khiara Bridges calls Josh Hawley's remarks transphobic in Senate hearing. I'm gonna play it for you in a second. Some of the articles have been sanitized already because I think the optics is going poorly for Professor Bridges. Some of the articles were talking about how she slammed him or she made him look poorly. I'll allow you to figure that out on your own. Here's the first video. I got two today. Um, you could make up your own mind about how that went. Make sure the audio is good, and here we go.
Before I want to visit with you, Ms. Mansky, but before I do, I just want to clear one thing up. Professor Bridges, you said several times, you've used a phrase, I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You've referred to people with a capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women?
Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy.
So this isn't really a women's rights issue.
We can recognize that this impacts women while also recognizing that it impacts other groups. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley.
Oh, so your view is that the core of this right then is about what?
So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing them.
Wow, you're saying that I'm opening up people to violence by asking whether or not women are the folks who can have pregnancies?
So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think it's important
Because of my line of questioning? So we
because
can't talk about it?
because denying that trans people exist and pretending not to know that they exist.
I'm
is
denying that
dangerous.
trans people exist by
Are
asking
you?
you if you're
Are
talking
you?
about women
Are you?
having pregnancies.
Do you believe that men can get pregnant?
No, I don't think women can get
So you are
pregnant.
denying that trans people exist?
And that leads to violence. Is this how you run your classroom? Are students allowed to question you, or are they
Absolutely.
also treated like this, where
No,
they're
they're
told
allowed
that
to
they're
question me.
opening up people to
Oh,
violence?
we have a good
by
time in my
questioning.
class. You should join.
I bet.
You might learn a lot.
Wow,
So anyway, she did speak a little bit more. I watched some of the videos. It was kind of the same type of nonsense that was going on with good Professor Bridges. This is your tax dollars. I don't care if you live in California or not. She's a public employee at a university, and that means she's getting federal tax dollars that are your money, as well as the fucking retarded state of California to say this stuff and to be this flippant. I didn't think personally, again, subjectivity, that Professor or Senator Hawley was necessarily hostile to her or flippant, but I kind of gathered that her response was kind of petulant. But hey, that's to each their own. That it's your subjective opinion when it comes to her. Anyway, her Wikipedia page, and as always, I'm lazy. Wikipedia's trash. It talks about that in '99, Bridges completed her bachelor degree in sociology after 3 years at Spelman College. Spelman College, as I click on that, is a private, historically black women's liberal arts college in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. And this is going to become relevant here in a second. well, from Spelman College, she received, she was valedictorian and graduated as some cum laude. Who fucking cares? Bridges then pursued a degree in law, graduating with a JD from Columbia University of Law in 2002. Bridges earned her PhD in anthropology in Columbia University in 2008. Interesting enough, it would put out that it is rather pretentious to say that you graduated from college in 3 years. I don't know why that has to be put into your bio, but hey, go ahead and fucking pat yourself on the back. Other interesting things, we're going to see this in a second. She's a professional dancer and classically trained ballet. She's written books. I'm not going to say that she's a dum-dum, per se. Anyway, but this is just a quick look into Khiara Banks. Like I said, there's no mention of Bridges' early life. And if you're clicking around the internet like me, especially on Wikipedia, everybody's got their early life on there because it's normally a chance to play the victim. There's no mention of what she was going on before 1999, where she graduated in 3 years, from Spelman College, a historically black female liberal arts college. Again, the problem with Bridges, if you haven't gathered it so far, is that her BA is from an institution that's rather insular. That means it's very close-minded. It is literally the point of view of an elite black woman. This is how she's going to view the world coming out of college in 1999 after graduating with a degree in 3 years. Right? This is the lens that she will always view the world with. This is also how well, I was going to make a statement about how elite white academics view her. I'm just not going to finish that statement after reading what I actually wrote down. But hopefully a normie will see this shit and they'll think, what the fuck is going on? Because it's embarrassing. So to move on, this is in her bio, in another place, it says she wrote as a reporter for the Miami Herald. When I was looking for that, this is her at the University of Virginia. Speaking, there's a little clip of this that I want to go on. This is her describing herself dancing and teaching.
In mens rea and mens rea analysis, there's a continuity between performing and dancing and teaching in front of a class. Like I get the same sort of emotional experience when I do both. Like there's the adrenaline that you get before you go on stage. There is like the exuberance of actually being on stage and doing it. And then there's like the endorphins that happen afterwards. And I get those same feelings no matter whether my stage is, a theater or if it's in one of the classrooms here in the building.
So if you're wondering why I pulled that clip up, if you're a little lost, she compares the performative aspect of ballet to the performance of teaching a college classroom. My problem with this, if you haven't realized that I have a fucking problem with this stupid fucking person, my problem with this is that teaching should not be about the teacher. I myself coach football from time to time with high school kids. Coaching is not about me showing the kids how much I know. It's about me giving the best transformative experience to the children. So it is objectively not about me. So my problem with her is that her teaching should not be about the teacher for the attention that she receives from the class. Rather, it should be about the students and the attention they receive from the teacher. So she literally gets the high of making teaching or dancing about herself. That's a fucking problem. Education is not about the ideas of the performer, because what causes the professor to take larger and larger risks to achieve the high of the performance and the elation of the audience, right? It's not about if the ideas that she's teaching have any substance. It is about whether or not she can receive the adulation of her peers and the audience by taking larger and larger steps, by pushing the envelope of the ideas that she's teaching. Now, this is a fucking problem with science, because science is about replicability, right? The reproducibility of science, the same experience happening over and over again with a large degree of certainty. That's what science is. She's supposed to be, a sociologist. which is funnily enough where my background, a little bit of my background's in from my time getting my BA in school. That's where my background's in, and she's also an anthropologist, which is kind of like another form of sociology. Anyway, and my background's a little bit in law too. It's interesting that I might be able to point at someone who's full of shit and a charlatan. So anyway, this science aspect, it's weird because you have to have a legitimate conversation about student loan debt when this comes down to it. Like, while seeing this, she's the type of person that has dominion over these students that are in her classroom, and they are accruing debt based off of her performance that they're giving her. It's just difficult, and I'm sure Berkeley's thinking this is great publicity, but if I'm a parent or I'm a potential student, and I realize that this is not about my education, this is about her increasing levels of dopamine and endorphins as she's performative, just like in front of Congress with Senator Hawley. Like, this is no bueno. Like, this is fucking bad, because I haven't even talked about what her thoughts are beyond what she spoke about with Senator Hawley, because she's written books, and her books are about like her first book, Reproducing Race and Ethnography of Pregnancy at Site Radicalization, as a site of radicalization. What the fuck? Understand this, that science has gotten to a point, for good and bad, where you have to have a heavy amount of expert ability to understand what these fucking people are talking about. There are a handful of people on the planet that can read Reproducing Race and Ethnography of Pregnancy as a site of radicalization and have any racialization. What the fuck? Have any fucking clue what she's talking about. And she has other books. There were other lectures that you can go online and you can listen to that talk about disogenics, which is the opposite of eugenics, which is the breeding out of particular unwanted traits in society. So she has this very, again, and it's put in Reproducing Race versus discusses topics such as stratification, reproduction, eugenics, and racialization of disease. Like, this is a race grifter who's drank too much of the ideological religious Kool-Aid, and she's spewing it in front of a classroom for fucking dopamine and dopamine hits and the indoctrination of her cult members in her classroom. This is fucking not good stuff. And you can believe whatever you want about it. I'm not here to preach to you, other than tell you my personal feelings on it. But again, yeah, this is your fucking tax dollars, whether you like it or not, because she works for the state and she's in charge of young minds that will eventually take and hold control of the country. And as good old Thomas Sowell said, the youth are children are little barbarians that must be tamed before they fucking burn down your civilization. She's giving them the torch. So moving on from there, where are we going? Oh, so we go to the state of Pennsylvania, where the governor of Pennsylvania, Governor Wolf, I don't fucking remember his first name. Who cares? Anyway, he vetoed a transgender sports bill. GOP pledges never stop fighting for fairness. Basically, he's a Republican that had the bill come across his desk that would have made it so biological males cannot engage in female sports. And he shot it down because, he doesn't want, his transphobia, fuck you, hate stuff that goes on. Anyway, I have to point this out in this article, or outside of this article, that I've been saying this for a while. Dobbs, the case that rescinded Roe versus Wade, is going to come back to protect women's rights. And if you're not aware of what the 14th Amendment says, it says Section 1 of the 14th Amendment, all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subjects to the jurisdiction therefore of are citizens of the United States and the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law. nor deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws, deny any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. I think I said that twice because I probably pasted it wrong. Anyway, if you give women abortion rights under the 14th Amendment, that means men get equal protection of abortion rights. And if you think that's regressive, you have to ask yourself, can men get pregnant? And according to good old Professor Bridges, if you don't believe that, then you're transphobic and you're committing violence against them. That's why that bad law had to be struck down. And it's good now because now we can potentially protect women's rights in this country from people that want to give them to cosplaying men. So anyway, moving on, we have Randy Weingarten gets schooled for tweet about classrooms becoming too politicized. Look in the mirror. Fox News story. That means it's ideologically bent to the right. So anyway, who's Randy Weingarten? She's the president of the American Federation of Teachers, the AFT. She's also known to have threatened strikes if schools were reopened during the pandemic lockdown. Blah blah blah. CRT. Blah blah blah. Democrat. All right. So in the article it says 90% of teachers said schools have become too politicized over the last year. Get the fuck out of here. This has been an ongoing problem with the degradation of the public education system in the U.S. for multiple decades at this point. I mean, I would say back to the 90s. The problem with our school system really going downhill has been coming up. In 2015, 4 California teachers sued AFT and its California unit, the California Federation of Teachers, over the use of membership dues for political activities. It's a Supreme Court case called Janus versus the American Federation of State, County, and Municipal Employees, Council 31. And it basically said that like the employees could not be compelled to pay for speech that they didn't agree with. Right. So this is the union that this Randy Weingarten is involved with. And I have from a Washington Examiner's article, the AFT's political spending was less than 30% as opposed to the National Education Association, which had like 90% of its money. So these two, the top two teachers union are just money laundering for political activities. Here's another person like Professor Bridges that's either lying or fucking delusional. And her problems do skim the surface of reality, of a reality that most other people don't face. I have very little doubt that Randy Weingarten believes the shit that's coming out her fucking mouth. Just like I have little doubt that Professor Bridges believes the shit that's coming out of her mouth because they get the adulation, the endorphins, the dopamine for saying fucking stupid shit and pushing the envelope of saying dumber and dumber shit to have more people go out and say you're stunning and you're brave for fucking taking your fucking butter knife out against the Kraken and putting up the good fight against the system. So again, the problem with Randy Weingarten making this comment about the politicization of classrooms is like classrooms been a fucking combat zone for years at this point, and the fact that she thinks it's only been in the last year that it's become politicized, instead of understanding that these teachers unions have been pushing the curriculum inside or at least parts therefore of the teachers unions have been pushing the politicization of the curriculum in the classroom. The classroom has already been politicized. It is just now that the critical mass has hit the point where the head of the fucking second largest teachers union in the country fucking realizes it. And it's not the politics she wants, and she's fucking a little caught off guard by it. So moving on to another white woman that doesn't fucking realize the shit that's fucking coming out of her fucking suckhole. You have Jill Biden, the first lady. I think that's the first time I ever fucking said that. Jill Biden, the alleged asterisk first lady of the United States, apologizes after a remark about Latinos cause stir. Like, I have to admit, a lot of this shit, like, I don't fucking particularly find very interesting in a very insular type of way. Until I see like the larger picture behind it. And anyway, so Jill Biden decided that she was going to go out there and, as it points out in this Associated Press article, that she apologized Tuesday for saying Latinos are unique as San Antonio breakfast tacos or bodegas, which she couldn't fucking actually pronounce in New York during a speech to the nation's largest Hispanic civil rights advocacy group. Which, by the way, used to be called like Viva La Raza. Yeah, group formerly known as Council of La Raza. That's National Council of the Race. Like literally had to change your name to Unidos United US Unidos US because it sounds like you're a race supremacist organization because you fucking are. She also spoke at a Democratic Party fundraiser at a private home before she returned to Washington. So she got called out for fucking Ariba motherfucker, like here are your tacos, with my taco flavored kisses, fucking the first lady. And again, these are oligarchs that are running your country that are wading into these small issues that they cannot understand. You or I cannot understand things that we don't experience with certainty. We can empathize with it because that's part of this human condition, but we can never understand it and experience it because, and I hate to fucking bring this shit up, like that's not our lived experience. The problem is people like her, Jill Biden, are so far removed from the plight of everybody else. These people honestly believe that these stereotypes exist because they have to. They have no other frame of reference when it comes to dealing with things like, I don't know, the Hispanic community in this country. And, not to draw too much upon my experience because that's fucking boring. Like, I've been around enough Hispanics in my lifetime to know that like there is not a hegemon of a Hispanic experience. They can run the gambit from whatever. To there is some truth to saying that they are unique as breakfast tacos, but motherfucker, I would never fucking say that shit. That's fucking just ridiculous. Especially when your stepson calls you a fucking retarded cunt. The Bidens, like I said yesterday, drug fueled orgies. So takeaways from January 6th hearing today, day 7. I don't fucking care. I'm actually getting to the point where I'm confused about what the fucking point of this is going on. I'm more interested in Elon Musk and Donald Trump playing retard chicken with each other on social media than I am actually what's going on in the January 6th hearing. For those of you that are like, well, don't bury the lead, tell me what's going on. Well, they have some tweet where Trump said call to arms, but that was not from the day. That was from December 20th or December 2020. They have details uncovered for the planning of behind Trump's unexpected call to the Capitol. This is a tweet that he never sent. Role of GOP lawmakers in Trump's election scene once again featured. Again, none of this was illegal. I don't know what the fuck. This dude, I'm just gonna say that he's probably this is not the guy, but anyway, it's just first chance to show video clips from some dude. I don't fucking care. Like nothing illegal. In-person witnesses laments the right-wing radicalization. So this is very interesting. You have a dude that used to be part of the Oath Keepers, which is like this far-right militia group. I'm not that familiar with them. Anyway, he testified about his position, and there are some definite questions about some federal informants that are going on. It's just interesting that someone would show up and talk about it. 6 witnesses detail unhinged Oval Office meeting in December 20 fucking cares. Like December 2020, 6 witnesses detailed, like none of this is illegal. They can be pissy about whatever. Trump's rhetoric killed someone, former campaign manager privately acknowledged. Not illegal. Just, if the whole purpose committee follows Justice Department's lead on extremists, don't fucking care. Again, if your purpose is to have it be some subjective shit show that doesn't change the mind of anybody that doesn't already believe that it was an insurrection, then okay, I guess you're moving in that direction. But like, I don't know what the purpose was of today. I don't really care. But it just pop up, and if anybody's wondering, nothing. All right, so this is fucking retarded, beyond the pale of fucking stupidity. So the mayor of New York, Adams, I think it's anyway, he put out a PSA yesterday telling New Yorkers how to survive nukes. I shit you not. I watched it. It's not very informative. Here's a picture of the 3 steps. Get inside, stay tuned. The problem with this, if you're not aware of nuke training, here's douchebag Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, who's functionally retarded, and it just goes to show, like, he's a former captain in the NYPD, and this is the type of competence that you have. Anyway, he defended this, and the funny thing is, about if New York City did get nuked, it wouldn't fucking matter. Actually, it would probably be a net benefit to humanity if New York City got nuked, but everyone in the city would be fucking dead. So what the point of this was, other than fear porn, I don't know. But it did come up, and it is ridiculous. And like, if the video was worth showing, I'd show it to you, but it's really not anything special. So this is Al Jazeera article. Al Jazeera is anti-Western trash, but in it, Ukraine is getting an additional $1.7 billion in assistance from the United States government and the World Bank to pay salaries of the beleaguered healthcare workers and provide other essential services. And then it says down here at the bottom, because everything else is not of any value, the U.S. has already spent $7.3 billion in aid to the Ukraine since the war began in late February. That fucking that abyss, that empty hole in out there in Eastern Europe, which is the Ukraine. I have this story to back this up that I found to point out. So this is from a news organization called News Punch. I don't fucking know who it is. High-ranking Ukrainian officials caught splurging on luxury real estate in Switzerland, like buying a $10 million whatever this is, chateau, I guess, in Switzerland. This story is about a month old. So if you're wondering where that $7.3 billion of US aid is going, I believe there's 10 million of it right there for you to fucking take a gander at. Let's see. To show you where your tax dollars are going, besides hiring college professors that are ideologically fucking bent, that are brainwashing the youth of this country. This is a Zero Hedge article saying 75% of poorly targeted 800 billion PPP money sent to unintended recipients. PPP money were the loans that were given out during the lockdown, a problem that the government fucking caused, and then they had to fix. So in the article, it says, the study found that preserving jobs was expensive, estimating that the PPP cost taxpayers around $4 for each dollar that went to the actual workers the PPP was intended to save. That means $3 fucking actually got fucking laundered back into not the workers that it was intended for. At the same time, well, like I said, at the same time, 3 out of every $4 was doled out through the program went to small business owners who shared the money with suppliers, banks, and other lenders. It just disappeared. So it was meant to keep the people afloat that weren't going to be able to work during the lockdowns, and it didn't go to those people. It went to the actual like apparatus of keeping the businesses alive. 72% of PPP loans went to the top 20% of households, like your Jill fucking Bidens, that fucking Rita, your fucking unique little tacos. That's where the money went to. Let's see. I want to say I screwed this up. So, oh yeah, this is the same article that I have pulled up. I just put it in the wrong spot. So, the two other major stimulus programs, one that issued 680 billion in unemployment insurance payments and another 800 in stimulus checks, officially called economic impact payments, were far less regressive, between 20% and 25% of unemployment insurance payments went to the top 20% of households, your Jill Bidens and your Professor Bridges, while the economic impact payments, it was between 10 and 15%. So roughly these two other programs were substantially better, but there was still that runoff of your taxpayer dollars going to where it wasn't intended to go to. Again, like I said, I'll just keep repeating this. This is problems that government causes, and then they have to come in and say, we fixed it, right? We fixed it. Between 75% negative efficiency and maybe at best 10 to 15% graft and corruption. lacking such systems, the United States chose to, this is a quote at the bottom I thought was interesting. So it says, lacking such systems, the United States chose to administer emergency aid using a fire hose rather than a fire extinguisher, with the predictable consequences that virtually the entire small business sector was doused with money. Why do we have inflation right now? I don't fucking know. It's like we printed a whole bunch of money out and just threw it at things. You know, tried to put a better fucking example of this is not that we used a fire hose, is that small business was on fire and then we just decided to put it out by dousing it in fucking money that we printed out of nowhere. That's a better example. So anyway, the next thing, because the daily move the fuck out of California, because California is asshole. California spent 500 million on DEI initiatives, including 50K on racial equity fish department training. Yeah. So I don't have a lot to say on this other than we already know that California is just poorly fucking run. It's a piece of shit. It doesn't matter. I don't have a lot to say about this article because I'm tired of talking about how badly run California is. My notes on this: if you want a state to do things that are important, like fix roads, there's two things that need to happen. The first is the state needs to do nothing else but fix the roads, because then you can hold accountable to the fact that it's like, why aren't my roads fixed? When you have them do other things like racial equity training, they can say, well, we're doing racial equity training, we don't have the time to fix your fucking roads. The second is that pulling the crew away from fixing the roads so they can go to racial equity training at the fish department trainings, right, actually makes them less efficient, because they can't actually fix your roads. They can't actually do their job of whatever the fuck the fish department trainings are. They can't do their job while they're sitting in a classroom being lectured by a professor that works at Berkeley about racial equity. They actually cannot be efficient at what you need them to do as the state, because there are actual college fucking degrees that are going out that are designed to make less Western culture less efficient and suck more. And then that's what's going on. So anyway, I don't have anything funny to say about that. Moving on. Oh, more California is asshole. Showing how the more power that you give the state, the more that they're just going to abuse it. So this story came out a little while ago. I read it. It gave me a chuckle. It was not really worth mentioning about, but in San Francisco, a company had been fined $1,500 for parking in their driveway, and then they had to fight with the city of San Francisco to be able to park in their driveway, because the city of San Francisco said, well, that's not a driveway, you can't park there. And they're finally able to get the ability to park in their driveway back. The more power the state gets, the more they can find stupid little shit to justify their existence and extort more money from you, because those roads aren't fucking getting fixed. Like that's the problem with making a society that has too many laws, is if you get on the wrong side of somebody, they can come fine you $1,500 for parking in your fucking driveway. If that law doesn't exist, then the state cannot enforce it, which means the state has less power and they can just focus on fixing your fucking roads. All right. So Starbucks is stupid. CNN trying to function like a non-biased news source again. So it says Starbucks to close 16 stores citing personal safety concerns, because this is the same stupid company that we're just like, let's let homeless people fucking shoot up in our bathrooms. So anyway, see if I can find this. The stores where they're going to be closing are, I bet you can guess where: Seattle, Los Angeles, Philadelphia, Washington, D.C., Portland, Oregon. They will be closed by the end of July. They did this. So part of what's going on is, they said in the article, to make workers feel safe in stores, the company is offering active shooter training and other types of training that they wrote. Yes, instead of them teaching or putting their employees through training about like how to make better fucking coffee and give better customer service, they're doing active shooter training for fucking Starbucks. I wonder if they're doing like, active dodge the fucking homeless needle training in San Francisco, fucking Starbucks. It's also offering mental health benefits across to access to abortion care, clarity around shifts, and store policies. And more, the letter stated. The company also may close restrooms to the public, overturning a 2018 policy. The good idea fairy strikes again. Schultz stepped into the CEO role for the third time in April. Over the past several months, he has spent time with employees, listening to their concerns and gathering feedback. He's also been working to dissuade workers from unionizing, which he's been fucking failing at, asking workers to steer clear of unions even before he formally returned to the company as a chief executive. But the unionization drive has been growing. Dun, dun, dun. So the union will take money, or this is me now. The union will just take the money from the employee and the benefits, because we already fucking see that in the teachers' unions. They're not actually going to help the employees of Starbucks. All this does is prevent Starbucks from putting cups of coffees in their customers' hands, which means that they're overall less efficient objectively as a company, and it prevents the employees from putting money back into their pockets, because all Starbucks is doing is anything other than a coffee company at this point. So, moving on to yesterday's rabbit holes. I promised these if I could find them, and I did find them. So let's talk about them. Anyway, we have let me just do that real quick. The most 5 most disturbing Uber files revelations you need to. I'm not very interested in this. The interesting part that I did find in this is French President Emmanuel Macron was reportedly quite close to Uber's top minds and held for multiple undisclosed meetings with company executives, which eventually eased things for Uber's operations in France. During a raid on Uber's office in France, Chief lobbyist Mark McGann reportedly told staff that he had asked Macron to get them to back off, referring to government inspectors that were conducting the swoop over alleged tax evasions. So the other stuff that they have in there, they had a built-in kill switch to turn off their systems for when law enforcement arrived. Lobbying to Macron and weaponizing violence for growth. That didn't make a lot of sense to me. Anyway, wooing sanctioned Russian oligarchs, also not interesting to me. Depriving drivers to preserve products. This is a little interesting because it does talk about the fact that they knew that they were not paying their drivers accordingly. It's a little unfair to say they're drivers because they are supposed to be technically independent contractors. But anyway, the point is behind this is, and I must have put this in the wrong spot. No, I didn't. I actually wanted to show you the Uber stock price, which is almost at an all-time low. It's trading at 21.57. You see the max down here at a high of 54.77 in April 30th, 2021, and now a low of June 30th, 2022. So the after hours trading on Uber has gone up slightly. Even after this report, the leaks dropped. Uber is a larger conversation about companies going public and then trying to keep their stock prices going up with bad business models. It's been discussed widely that Uber's business model was never going to be overwhelmingly profitable because it's technically an app. That's all it is. And you need rather low infrastructure to maintain the app, which is supposed to be that independent contractor finding someone, and then the two of them being able to facilitate a transaction based off the app. That's what Uber was supposed to be. Obviously, it's grown a little bit larger than that if they have the need to have a kill switch to hide their stuff from law enforcement. The other interesting thing to point out, if you look over at the side, the experts, quote unquote, with experts like these who needs enemies, are saying buy against these revelations, and this is against the growing concerns of a recession that we're already likely in. Just hasn't been, the definition has been changed that we don't need to worry about that. Like, seriously, what the fuck? Some normies just sitting there clicking across the internet comes to Uber stock, sees that there's 17 super buys, 27 mostly buys, and just goes, I need to get me some of that fucking stock, where there's no larger conversation about the Uber leaks that are going on, and the lack of sustainability from their business model. Is just like, oh yeah, it looks good right now. Don't worry about the fact that it's probably going to drop more because of the recession. Just go ahead and dump your money into it. Like, again, with experts like these, who needs to not commit suicide? So let's see. The other story that I talked about yesterday that I had heard some grumblings on, that I found Vice News. Vice News is left-wing propaganda, but here's their story. UPS has new ghost gun shipping rules that could disrupt the industry. There's a little bit more to the story, so it is a little bit more interesting to me. So anyway, UPS system could be they Vice talked to them, and they said that these gun parts from these companies could be seized and destroyed because they may be violating applicable laws concerning the shipment of ghost guns to unauthorized locations. Here's a private company basically arbitrarily turning themselves into some force of Sharia law and then deciding that they're going to enforce these things when we have actual law enforcement that can do that for them. And the interesting thing about this, because it actually talks about new Biden administration guidance to the ATF, we have that new Supreme Court ruling with the EPA telling the EPA that they're not allowed to act outside of what was congressionally given to them. And again, so now you have a private company that's trying to do the will of a governmental institute or agency that is probably already acting illegally based off the ruling that the Supreme Court just landed on the doorstep of the EPA. UPS is probably ideologically compromised at this point. So yeah, my advice: do not buy Uber stock, do not buy UPS stock, and do not use UPS to ship your shit because fuck them. But that's up for you to decide. I probably would not be using UPS for anything at this point. So, oh yeah, we have to do more. Father of Parkland victim interrupts Joe Biden at event gun safety. Fuck you. I would look at you and I'd say, yeah, you're a cool guy to prostitute your dead child for ideological reasons. I can understand that you are upset that your kid got waxed in a school shooting. However, fuck you that you prostituted your dead kid. And the reason why I would go a step further is it's just a coinky dink this guy was there. Oh no, it wasn't, because this was at the White House and they invited people there, and then Biden said, no, let the man speak. This is even worse that the guy prostituted his kid, because it was a planned, allegedly, it was a planned fucking publicity stunt for gun control. Fuck you. You've lost a lot of my sympathy. Stood up fucking barking like a fucking idiot at a planned event, so you could get your fucking your photo op. Yeah. I don't have a lot of sympathy for you at that moment, because your politics are more important than your grief. I think this might be the end of the day. I'm sure that people will like my comments about things. Anyway, this story is on the Arizona law that just passed, and I've been seeing a lot of people talk shit about this law, and I've read it. In fact, not only can I read it to you, so this is in the era of transparency, Arizona law limits filming police. So here's the actual law from the Arizona website, and so the propaganda around this law are like, oh, it violates the First Amendment, yada yada yada. It does not, because you got to read the law, and it's within 8 feet. And there's caveats to this. And I can tell you from experience, 8 feet is very fucking generous, because 8 feet, you're getting very close to that police officer that's trying to do his job. And I've been there, and I've told people, get the fuck back, and they're inside 8 feet. 8 feet, 2.5 meters. That's about the size of adult male laying on the ground from you. So they're definitely within lunging distance at that point. It's not very comfortable. So I have line 8 being this actually says that the person has to know, or reasonably should know, that law enforcement activity is occurring, so you can film it. And and if you aren't aware that law enforcement is going on, you can't be arrested. That's the easy one. Line 9 goes a step further. You have to receive, or previously have been told, a warning from law enforcement that the person is prohibited from making a video recording, because you're inside 8 feet, and then you've been fucking warned. So yeah, So that the officer has basically decided, like, you're getting too close, get the fuck back, and then you stay within inside 8 feet recording them. Yeah, you're no longer recording, you're hindering the actual law enforcement portion of what's going on. Um, line 17, it says that private property, you can be within 8 feet unless you're interfering, and you're inside 8 feet. If you're inside 8 feet in a dwelling like that, yeah, you're probably interfering with what's going on with the law enforcement. Um, so again, if you think about how stupid this is, if a police officer is trying to put handcuffs on somebody, and you decide you're going to jam your phone in between the cop trying to put the handcuffs on, I don't even think this is necessarily a First Amendment issue. It's that you're a fucking asshole and you're impeding him from fucking his safety and the safety of others because you've gotten that close. And if this cop is trying to, question somebody or search somebody, and you're that close that you're actually invading his feeling of safety, because anybody sitting there getting that close to you, if you're not even a law enforcement, you're just pulling out your phone, getting that close, you're going to make someone uncomfortable. And this is someone that's trying to potentially deal with dangerous people. And like I said, me having done the job, and I don't particularly like law enforcement because they are agents of the state. They don't have necessarily your best interest at heart all the time. I'm not defending them because, like, oh yeah, cops need more action. It's just, no, this is a law that's like, don't be a fucking dumbass. Um, Also, line 21, where it says if you're involved in your car and you're within 8 feet, then like it's permissible. So there's caveats cut out for, well, when it's not feasible that you could be outside of 8 feet to film. And mind you, most cameras on phones have fucking zoom features. I do have a problem with line 27, with all fairness, because line 27 says this section does not establish a right or authorize any person to make a video recording of law enforcement activity. That fucking statement is 100% a violation of the First Amendment. Fuck you, state of Arizona. That shouldn't be in the fucking this thing. And you had me until you fucking put that thing in there, and then whatever. So it's, if you hear anybody talking about this and they don't understand the caveats behind it, they're idiots, and they're just fucking dumb. And what do we have to finish the day off? Oh yeah, so this tweet, I went and looked it up. So Jack Posobiec, he's a right-wing pundit, douchebag. Anyway, the World Economic Forum had posted up until a couple days ago, Sri Lankan's prime minister, if you're not aware, there's a big fucking riot going on there because of their corruption and mismanagement going on in their country. The Sri Lankan prime minister a couple years back posted, this is how I will make my country rich by 2025. How's that going for you? And just to show you, like, they took it down. That's what Posobiec's showing, and someone archived it before it went down. And here's the actual archive of it, if it'll come up. Sri Lankan prime minister, this is how I will make my country rich by 2025 by corruption and mismanagement. So yeah, like the World Economic Forum, you will own nothing and you will be fucking retarded. So anyway, 47 minutes. That's half as long as yesterday. Hopefully silver linings and whatever, and I'll see you tomorrow. So yeah.